and our rural districts, which are right here. These are rural communities that are getting more money than ever before from the state of Tennessee. So I just want to clarify that.
All right, next question is, what is being addressed about the lack of school counselors throughout the state?
That's another great question. And I fell into my mental health conversation a little bit ago, and I was pretty passionate about our behavioral health. I know I was talking, where you at? There you are. I've spoken with her as well on behavioral health liaisons and things like that we've seen. We're continuing to work toward that. But one of the issues that I found in speaking to my schools is our counselors aren't able to counsel because we have them doing so many other things. So that's an area that we've been working on at the state level, is let counselors get back to doing what they were trained to do. Instead of having to do all this extra aspect of it sometimes. And I've heard that from our counselors, but also how we're using those health-based liaisons has been a nice benefit as well to offset some of it.
That's exactly right. We will be increasing the number of counselors. This has come up just recently. I did tour recently also the Dyersburg City school system with the superintendent, Ms. Worley. About a month ago, and they have a school counselor that it was amazing to see how he interacted with the students in the high school and how they would come to him if they had an issue or problem, if there were things going on at home that they needed to talk to somebody about. They felt comfortable going to him. This is what we need in every school, in my opinion, and I saw that firsthand, what they were doing there, and I know that we have been talking about that in the health committee and other committees, that this is something that we need to do. Mental health in the schools is so important, and increasing the resource of the mental health officers or counselors in the school system is at utmost importance.
Do independent homeschool students get money? What about ones associated with the group?
Homeschool?
Yeah. Homeschool.
We had several homeschool, I know there was a homeschool association, they asked not to be included in the bill.
Explain what it is meant by the class role. Many teachers share a class role, and I think that may have been addressed with Sydney's question. The class role as far as the difference between instructors.
At one time, there was verbiage in some of the $2,000. I'm imagining that's what they're referring to. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that has to do with what we were talking about earlier about trying to make sure we get some of the other qualifications added to the funding for the $2,000 bonus.
If I do not ask your question right, please come up to the mic and ask. I don't want to do all your questions justice. I think we've already addressed this with, did you vote as your constituents wanted regarding the vouchers? I feel like Kirk went through that earlier. Do you have anything else you want to add to that? Or Brock?
Yeah, I mean, you can always say, not always, but you can say yes to that because, I would say that it's a 50-50 issue. And so those are the issues that are the toughest. I got several messages of people, including two of my aunts who are in public education, that was like, what are you doing? And I got several messages from other family members and just other constituents that said, we appreciate this approach being available. So, I mean, it's tough. And I will say, U.S. News and World Report recent public education rankings were up to 31. That was the little going by that because it was the first one in public. It's not great, but it is up from 41.
This one says, would you have voted for vouchers if it wasn't tied to the relief?
It wasn't tied.
No, that was part of the misnomer at first as well. So Governor Lee calls a special session, and there was 3 different bills that we were addressing. You had immigration in there, you had Hurricane Helene efforts in there, and you had this school choice or voucher conversation in there. So there was 3 separate bills, 3 separate entities, 3 separate conversations. Now in the back end, we have an appropriation bill where all the money is put into one, but that was how we do on all bills. So it wasn't that we were voting tied to anything. But we heard that on the front end that it was tied to it. I think personally we probably should have gone into Helene earlier. I would have done that, but I'm not the governor, so I don't get to make that decision. But that wasn't accurate on how it was all tied in together. That was just something that was sold out earlier.
This one says, I read on Kirk's Facebook post that the school's funding can't go down from where it is currently, is due to its person disenrollment. So there is no longer any need for safe harbor. Are the taxpayers going to pay twice for some kids?
Again, I mean, that's going to be one of those discussions that's kind of happened on both ends, because you're either, if you're increasing funding for schools, does that mean that we're not increasing funding for state workers? You know, it's like, you know, if we keep money in the school system while a student leaves, you know, are you defunding, are you paying twice? One of the reasons why that's also not true is that a lot of, to Brock's point earlier, a lot of the students that, you know, we're leaving some of these school systems, that we're choosing to leave school systems, a lot of them are going to homeschool. And so that's why I don't think that that's quite accurate. But, you know, having that, and I'll say this, I forgot to make this point, this is important. That funding floor can be reset. So let's say that you were at 1,000 students, you went down to 900, you kept 1,000. But say 2 or 3 years later, you went up to 1,100. Well, you're not at 1,000 anymore. So if you're at 1,100 and then you went back down to 1,000, your funding is going to be at 1,100. That funding floor continues to rise. It doesn't go down, and it actually will catch back up. So that was a huge thing to be able to make sure to have that protection on as well.
Tell about how the law, the vouchers, will move forward next year.
How they will move forward next year?
Vouchers, like I guess assessing them, and what's the next step?
The way it currently is written, it will increase by 5,000 people, or 5,000 students based upon us appropriating it. And part of that is also guidelines of who can be accepted in that second year, who has top priority, and it's still income-based, and it's for kids in public school, and then third and finally is a universal portion. But it's 5,000 each year that we appropriate. And I think that's part of what the conversation needs to be on still, is it's such a small number. We have 1 million students in school in Tennessee, so we're talking about less than 2% that all this discussion has been around, the small percentage that will increase over a period of time potentially.
What will prevent private schools from simply raising their tuition to exceed the amount provided by the vouchers, thus maintaining the current state of inequality?
Well, if they did that, we don't have to worry about any public school students leaving.
I had this question the other day, and obviously, if they're running a business, that very well might happen. They might raise their prices. But if I'm paying portion of paying to it, so say I'll use TCA as an example, and I'm having to pay $10,000 more, and then it goes up. As a parent, if I know I can go to Lexington Middle School, who's doing phenomenal, or have to pay another $10,000 to get into the school, the private school portion, I still think I'm going to choose that option. And that's part of what this is. If a parent thinks otherwise, they get the choice of what they want to do with their tax dollar. But the same way works the reverse, guys. We still have the option as our public schools to beat the heck out of the private schools and win in that competition. And I think that's an argument we keep missing is as I've talked to my schools, sometimes it's like they feel like they're not adequate. I'm like, guys, you are adequate. You are doing things that we choose every day to send our kids to your schools. You are doing phenomenal. And I think that's where, if we continue to have that positive mindset on it, that the schools will get back into that portion, and the parents will decide. I wouldn't pay more to go to a private school. Maybe one of you two would, but if that increase, if private schools keep raising their prices, that's what.
I've lost 2 state championships to private schools, so no, I don't
I think you've already covered this, but I'm trying to ask all the questions. Why would you vote for vouchers knowing your constituents didn't approve?
No, it's a 50-50. About 50% did and 50% didn't.
One thing on that one, social media world was very, very loud during that period. And I even took myself out. I knew what was happening on there. It was very, very loud one way. And I personally, over the last year, have reached out to people outside of that world. So I went to my 3 counties, I went to my farmers, I went to my everyday taxpayers, and I was asking them as well, what are your thoughts on this? What are we doing right? What are we doing wrong? I knew where my schools were going to be, which is fine. They're not going to be in favor of it. That's okay. That's what our schools, that's fine. But I wanted to hear from other people as well. So I think the misnomer was the loud and everybody was against it was what we saw on social media as well. And as I stepped away, I was questioning it, but I had my documents that kept showing none of these people think that way. And then after I made that vote, which I had great peace with afterwards because I spent a lot of time in thinking and working and praying on this thing, people started coming out of the woodwork. Some of my teachers, some of my directors, some of my principals across the board were saying, it's not all that bad. We're going to figure it out. But even more people were saying, thank you for giving my kid an option. And they gave me story after story of why they had issues with our public school. And some of the schools that I love, they were telling me what was wrong with it. So I think that was something that we got caught up in was everybody's against it. And then when you step back and talk to every citizen as well, it wasn't as loud out there with most of the people as we saw in certain sectors.
Okay, thank you. And so that's all of the questions. If y'all want to take a minute to wrap it up, if you have any last things that we didn't ask that you want to share, or if anyone else has another question or didn't do their question justice up here.
I have one.
We got 2.
I'm sorry.
3.
I'll let them.
Whitney, I'm sorry. She's going to kick us out in a minute.
I am Gail Walker. I'm a retired educator. I think that I don't understand. I think it's probably coming back. I've spent a few years in the central office, and you're always looking at your enrollment. You knew that if it went down a little bit, that we had safe harbor for that 1 year. But after that was over, we knew that we would lose funding. Okay. I don't understand how, let's say if 10 kids leave, I don't understand, I guess I'm coming more as a taxpayer now, how are we going to maintain sending our schools the same amount of money year after year after year when part of those kids have moved off? Where are those extra tax dollars going to come from?
That money is already there. I mean, we're all we're doing is we are increasing the money per pupil, and so it's an interesting discussion because if we came in and the legislature said we're going to add $300 million to public education, everybody, which we've done in recent years, or we're going to increase teacher salary. Nobody really comes to us and complains about where that money's coming from. But since we're doing it at the same time as saying that we're going to also allow for school choice, people are really concerned about the extra funding that would be coming into public education. It's just extra funding coming into public education.
So we just have that money lying around up there?
Well, we have about $3 billion in our rainy day fund that we're not utilizing, and we do have a lot of extra funds coming in from sports gaming and from lottery.
So there's
those
tax
funds.
increase.
No, there's not. This is not going to lead to a tax increase.
It just seems to me, I guess, that we're paying for some kids twice, and I see that as a waste. It's not a waste. I think our public schools will use the money wisely, but I think that's one thing that's hard to understand.
Yeah, we mentioned that a little bit earlier, and I would look at it as we're protecting the funding, and like if the argument is that it would have been better for this bill to come into place where, like you said, 100 students leave and the funding leaves with them. I mean that's a fair point of view to have, and I can understand that if you feel like fiscally that's the way it needs to be. Line item here, line item here. I think that the way that it's budgeted and appropriated, I don't think it's going to be an issue, and I like the fact that we're going to be basically. When students do leave, we're increasing the funding for that school to have a greater teaching people.
We have that kind of money up there, and we're now at 31. Let's let our goal be at 21 in a few years.
Yeah, I'm hoping we're on the right track of trending upward. I hope
If
we
the money's there,
we
we
continue.
should go ahead and ship it out to the public schools.
That's what we're doing. $3 billion in the last 6 years.
I like the way you think.
Hey guys, I know y'all know me. I'm Glenn Money. I'm the director of EMS here for Henderson County and Decatur County. And I stay in your offices about every week. I know you try to run me out a lot. But so appreciate Senator Jackson, you and Kirk on Senate Bill 1198, which is the critical access hospital. So Decatur County and Perry County, Kirk, I don't know we won't get Perry County and Decatur County back open, but that's very important that we continue support of those bills.
Thank you.
It's very important that we keep the support of those two bills because the critical access hospital for Decatur County and Perry County helps us along the way to get these hospitals back open. I know it's very important. We really need to get that pushed through this session. Also on Senate Bill 210, Senator Jackson, you know, Rob Martin pushing that. That's the roll out the service bill. Kirk, like you just said, we got two or $3 billion in the rainy day fund. TennCare, as you all know, is a problem across the state, and I would love to see something happen as far as TennCare reform. You know, the general public doesn't know this, but for ambulance services, if I take a patient today from Henderson County Hospital to a hospital in Nashville, we're gonna collect about $200. And that's it. And you guys know, Kirk, you know, you had an ambulance to burn down over in Perry County. We're just running these trucks to death, and you know we need some help across the state. And it's time. This is the time for this to pass. I don't know, Senator Jackson, y'all passed it yesterday, and I appreciate that. But Kirk, you're brought to get an opportunity next week, and I'll be up in your face again next week trying to get this to pass. But we need help, and that's from the governor as well. You know, these ambulance services across the state, a lot of them are having to ask for subsidies from the counties. And Dr. Braden, who owns Braden Health, has told me we're not going to ask for a subsidy from Decatur County and Henderson County. So we're just not. But we're losing hundreds of thousands of dollars each year. We're trying to keep ambulances purchased, and we're trying to keep good equipment for our citizens. We just need help. And I know you all three agree with me on this. We just need to keep pushing. And for everybody in the room here today, we need you to email your representatives and the governor, let them know that we need help across the state of Tennessee for health care. And we have the money in the TennCare budget or the TennCare rainy day fund. We just need TennCare to start paying us a little more. And I appreciate you guys for supporting us in our bills, and all three of y'all have supported us in all of our bills that we've ever brought forward. So I appreciate you three, especially for being here tonight. Thank you.
I'll get signed up with that. Yeah. The critical access for the Decatur County and Perry County hospitals passed unanimously in the Senate Health yesterday. And I think, and it's got to go to finance. The ambulance issue is a big issue. It's very expensive for these counties to have to fund these ambulance services that they're losing money with every run. And this can't happen. We've got to fund that through TennCare. TennCare's got to step up and increase the reimbursement rate. So we're really pushing hard for that to happen in both the Senate and the House.
Yes. Thank you, guys.
Hi, my name is Tabitha Derryberry. I'm a patient advocate for Mid-South Liver Alliance. We cover 6 states, all southern. Our headquarters is in Nashville. I'm actually one of those patients that I've had several rides from this county to Nashville before, so I appreciate some of those bills that you're working on. My question is for you for Bill 1242. I don't know if you're familiar with it or not. We actually sent a letter to you guys, us and about 17 other organizations. I don't know if you've received it or not. So it kind of extends Bill 340B. 1242. Basically, 340B is saying that was given more access to rural communities through the pharmaceuticals. That money they were giving a discount to hospitals, pharmacies that would be passed on to rural areas, to our poor communities, and the patients would receive those savings. That has not really worked out with 340B. And I know that 1242 is going to expand that, but I think that probably needs some looking into. I don't think that is really helping Medicare, TennCare, any rural community. So I'm just kind of wondering where you sort of stand on that. Not trying to put you on the spot.
No, you're good. You're good. We just started that discussion on the insurance committee this week. 340B is the topic for this session. It is going to be a fight because you have the hospital groups against the pharmacy groups. Really, that's going to be
Yes.
such a contentious topic. The bill was brought from the hospital side, I believe, and the fiscal note is astronomical. So for one, it's more than likely that's going to end up hurting more than anything. But your stance on it is what I've been hearing as well. I've been in meetings this week on it, and it's a very complex cover.
It is.
And only a few people can understand it at the level it
Yes.
needs to be. But your advocacy is important because I did get your letter the other day. I saw that just recently, I think Monday or Tuesday.
Yeah.
It came in. So I appreciate what you're doing because that's how legislation gets approved. We need to hear from people like her that are living it every day to help us try to figure out how to do it a little better.
Yes.
And this is one that most of us don't understand.
No,
We
yeah.
need to be able to see the real implications locally on it.
Yeah, I think the cut and dry of it is that money is really going more towards urban areas.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's where it's going.
that's
Where
where
it was
it's
intended to come back to
Yeah.
rural areas.
originally was supposed to, and the
Yes,
bigger
and it's
hospital
not.
settings took them, and that's why what we discussed earlier.
Yeah, so
about-
expansion of it is kind of,
Yeah, and our goal as rural legislators is to be a voice, for like we talk about education and everything else, to be a voice for that portion, and try to make sure we get our fair share back to our rural hospitals that are
yes.
suffering from those things, and we're the ones that are. So I appreciate your thoughts on it and bringing that to us.
Thank you.
I can't say where we're at yet because it'll be in committee this week, but I've heard that the fiscal note's going to be too big to pass it anyway, so that would be a positive. But you've seen it in health yet? I don't think you've seen it over there. But thank you again for that. That
Thank
was enlightening on a portion of it, and also from your stance, as those coming up and speaking on that behalf. So thank you.
I'm a liver kidney transplant patient. I've
Awesome.
had many ambulance rides, helicopter rides from this community. So, yeah, it's very important.
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, we all know medical bills are
Absolutely.
huge. So if we can get that down,
Absolutely.
get that cost back to the people, it's going to be
Absolutely.
great.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
Cindy, you had one more question?
No.
No. She's ready to go. Well, guys, thank y'all all for coming out, and thank you guys for being here and answering all the tough questions. Each and every one of them, they are accessible at any time. They always return a phone call. They always return an email, so don't hesitate to reach out to them. Thank you guys again for being here. Let's give them a round of applause.